Hey everybody, and welcome to the Board Game Specialist. I am Melanie.
And I'm Carla.
And today is our 50th episode. And we're going to be doing our top 50 starting now. So for the next 5 episodes, we'll be talking about 10 games at a time. I am so excited for this. Can you believe it, Carla? We've done 50 episodes.
I know, it doesn't feel like it at all.
It really doesn't. And that we haven't missed a week. We've done 50 episodes, 50 weeks in a row. It seems like it was, I don't know, it seems like forever ago that you kind of approached me and say, hey, would you want to do a podcast? But then it seems like yesterday as well,
Yeah, I know what you mean. Exactly. And we talked about last time, we still have so many topics that we just keep coming up with new ones that we've got so much to talk about still.
Yeah, so there'll be another 50 episodes to come for sure anyways.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, so excited. So excited for this episode. This is ridiculous. Almost as exciting as Christmas. And I love Christmas. Now, before we get into our top 50, what have you been playing lately?
I played one of my Christmas games. It's called Cathedral. And it's an older game. It's an abstract strategy game. I kind of touched on it a bit, I think, last episode or the one before, where it's just a 2-player game and you have all these wooden, they look like little cathedrals or churches or little buildings on a square grid. And you start with this one big blue cathedral in the middle, which is neutral. And you each have a different color. It's like kind of a reddish wood and a lighter wood. And then you will start placing them on the board. And what you want to do, it's kind of has a bit of blocus in it where you want to, but you don't have to connect at corners. You can actually touch your buildings, but you want to get all your buildings out on the board if you can, because you would probably win if the other person couldn't get all of theirs out. But once you have completed an area where it's closed in and there's an open area and it's just your buildings, they can't put any in there anymore. Or if you close one of their buildings in, they have to take it out and reuse it and they can't go in that area. So it's kind of like a reverse area control, almost like you're trying to control parts of the board, but you're trying to make a big chunk of the board unavailable to the other player. And it's really quick, like a literally 5-minute game, but it's one of those, okay, again, okay, now again. But it's really neat. And that was one of them that I got to play. I finally got to play Woodcraft again. I played that once at KevCon, and it was late at night, and we were all kind of oh, I don't know. We were so looking forward to that game, and I think we were just so tired. But we played it again. Ashley got a copy, and it was awesome. We loved it. It's such a neat and a cool thematic game where you're little woodcrafters, but you use dice as not really your workers, but as tools basically. But you can cut them. So you literally will cut the dice. So say a 6, you'll turn into a 4 and a 2 or something, or you can glue 2 together with the resources are wood glue and a little saw. And then you need those things in order to split your dice or glue them together. And that's to complete objectives. But you can buy dice, which is wood, but then you can also grow dice. So trees, because then they'll grow into higher pips without having to buy them, right? So each round they grow 2 pips if you've planted them. And then you also can build these tools in your attic, and they give you a bunch of bonuses if you connect them all. What else is in there? There's you can hire workers that give you special abilities. It's really neat, and it's his most thematic game, I believe, so far, that makes sense with what you're doing. It's very easy to learn because it all just makes sense to, okay, you're cutting your dice, you're gluing it and doing this and that. And it's really cute. It's got a cute little theme with these little elves, I believe, that are doing all this work. And it's really pretty. And it's probably my favorite of Vladimir Suchi's so far. One other one I got to play was Turing Machine. I don't think I've talked about this yet. Cherry got this game. So. No, this one is like it's a deduction game, but it's a number computing game. And even just kind of like scanning over videos, just you look and you're like, I don't get what they're doing here. But it's so neat. It's like the game is like a computer, but it's on paper, basically. And it has all these little cutouts in the cardboard. And each game can be different. You set up the computer with different like A, B, C, D, E. Is it a computer on its own? And then you just pick a number, and like a 3-digit number, and everybody could have a different one, or they could have the same. And then you just check answers with this computer to deduct what the number is you're trying to guess. Because you'll pick a code that is like the number everyone's trying to guess. No one will know it. You have a number, and then you're comparing the questions on the computer with the number you have. So it'll only answer questions with the numbers that you have. Like, so one of the computers might say, if your purple number is higher than is your purple number higher than your yellow number? And if that's true with your numbers, it'll either, when you put the computer behind it, it'll either have a check mark or an X. So it'll either be a yes or no answer, or just is it bigger or not? So it's basically yes or no answers. And it's really hard to explain over just like orally. You have to almost show people this, but it's so interesting and neat. And I just love it. It's really cool. What about you? What have you been playing?
So, because we last recorded was New Year's Eve. So on New Year's Day, it was just me and Lee. So we ended up playing Terraforming Mars Aries Expedition.
Oh, nice.
So got that off the shelf. A shame because I bought it just recently, honestly. It was like less than a month ago since I got this copy. So got it, popped it open. And what was neat too is it's on Diced. So there's a tutorial that teaches you how to play. And it was neat because we set up the tutorial and it says, okay, put the rule book aside. Here's how you set up the board. Here's how you set up the game. And then and it teaches you as you're playing. So in a way, it feels like you're playing quicker. But the box said that it plays in 45 to 60 minutes, I think. Well, because we were like, okay, well, should we have supper? And I was like, well, I'm not quite hungry yet. Let's play a game first. And it's like, okay, let's go play this. Mm-hmm. And then we played it, and it didn't feel like it took a long time. But by the time we finished the game, it was 9:30 at night. We're like, oh, wow. But it does have such a strong, like, Terraforming Mars feel to it. And it's almost like, to me, it was like Terraforming Mars meets Roll for the Galaxy in the action selection. Mm-hmm. So it was really neat. I really enjoyed it, kind of creating your like, I guess your engine, like, because it's an engine building game really with the card and what you're putting together. And then so I really, really enjoyed it. But and then granted, we're doing a tutorial to learn it, so I'm sure that kind of stretched everything out. But like I said, it didn't feel like it was that long. It says maybe it's 8:00 now. What time is it? It's like, oh no, it's 9:30 at night. So then afterwards we played this one. We're like, so want to go watch The Martian? We watched The Martian on the movie as we were eating supper afterwards, kind of just make a full themed evening out of it. It was great.
Oh, cool.
And then yesterday, me and Lee, so just the two of us again at home, so we played Land versus Sea. And it was neat. Actually, we ended up in a tie, and there's no tiebreaker. Like, it's like, okay, well then the game is tied. So I was like, okay, but like, and he was way ahead of me, but I kept like, I had a lot of different clusters that I was able to close at the end that kind of caught me up. But so one player plays as the land, the other player plays as the sea, and the goal is to create these clusters that are completely closed in so that you can count each tile that created this cluster. And then if there's a little like asterisks in the water, asterisks on the land, you get to count those as bonus points as well. It was neat. And this was Lee's first time playing it, and we're playing it, and he's like, this feels like that Carcassonne game. And I was like, I know, right? Like it just has that same itch, even though like Carcassonne plays fairly differently and scores differently, but it just has that same similar feel. So those are the two that I've played recently. It was great fun.
Awesome.
Oh, all right. So this is the moment we've been waiting for.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to start our top 50. So Carla, tell us, what's your number 50?
All right. So my number 50 is Botanik, made in 2021 by Frank Gritton, Gregory Larguet, and Sebastian Pouchon. Now, I feel like this game is underrated. It's a small two-player tile laying game. It has a feel of a bit of feel of Lost Cities for me, where it's just two players and you're kind of either building something onto yourself or taking something away from them. But I still don't feel like it's a it's a straight take that game. It's kind of in the game, but I don't feel like it's like a, screw you or anything else. No, you are building your own little thing. And what you're doing is you have these tiles and the theme is like kind of steampunk, robot kind of, because what they're doing is you're building these pipes. You're connecting all these pipes that are either building flowers or food, but they don't really look like food. It just looks like flowers or just pipes. And then with kind of some weird faces. But then you have these like weird scientists that come up as well in the tiles. But what you need to do is connect all these tiles to the main source and have at least 3 of one color connected, and possibly more because they'll give you more points. But if you don't have 3 of one color connected, you won't get to score any of that color. So you have this little board in front of you that has like 3 sides to it. It has a middle, and it'll start with tiles there. And then on either side, you have spots to place tiles, and on the other person's side, they have spots. So you have this little stack of tiles to the side, and you can choose one, and you'll have to place it on that board. So you either place it on your side, but in order to do that, it has to match the tile in the middle, either the color or the exact shape of the pipes. Now, if you are full and all those tiles are taken, or all those tiles are full in front of you, then you can put it in the middle. And as soon as you do that, it'll release the tiles that are next to it on their side and your side, if it doesn't match what's there. So you have to strategically try to release tiles to yourself without releasing tiles to them, or releasing them one that will kind of screw up what they're doing there. The thing is, you can still place these tiles kind of like just off to the side, sort of not even connected at that point. As long as it gets connected later, then they can score them. So they don't have to stick it right in the pipes that they have right now. But it's really puzzly, and it's such a neat game. It's you don't hear a lot about it. The people who do talk about it love it, but you don't hear a lot of people talking about it. But it's so neat and interesting and perfect for on the deck or whatever, because it's straight tiles, and it's just so neat. And that's my number 50, Botanik.
Nice. Yeah, I've heard you talk about this one a few times.
Yeah.
I haven't played this yet, but if it's in the top 50, seems like I'm going to have to.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So my number 50 is Century: A New World. This one was published in 2019, and it's Emerson Masucci game. And this is a part of a trilogy, and it's the latest one that was released with this one, and it's the one that's like the worker placement version of it. And it's really interesting because you have these different locations you can go to. And then if you send one worker there, other people can still use that particular location, but they're going to have to send one worker more. And then, so it kind of makes it more difficult or bigger commitment to be able to go there. And then at one point you can bring your workers back, and then and then it's great to, oh, good, I'm so glad you take your workers back, because now I can just send the one worker to do the action I wanted. And then as you go through the cards, it's going to release new locations. And like Century, it's all about collecting the resources, trading those resources to be able to meet up these orders that you need to fill in. That's going to give you victory points and stuff. I really like this one. I remember when I first opened this, I was kind of shocked by, why are these workers so small?
They're so tiny.
They are tiny. And then the board that you play on is like a really thin cardboard. It's not like a thick cardboard that you kind of fold up, it's just almost paper, like paper stock or whatever. So those were two things I was like, why did they do that? But the gameplay is solid, and I do like this one quite a bit. So that's my number 50, Century, A New World.
Awesome. My number 49 was one of the shockers to me. This used to be in my top 20 games. And I think the reason it's up high now, or lower, I guess, however you want to put it, is that it just doesn't get played as much. This is The Gallerist, made in 2015 by Vital Lacerda. So this is my top Vital Lacerda game at this point. I still haven't played Weather Machine, but I was just surprised that it was like way up there on the list when it used to be definitely in my top 20. I love this game, but there's just so many games that they get spread out. Now this one, you are playing as gallerists, and you all have your own art gallery, and you're trying to buy and sell art, trying to promote artists. What's the other thing you are doing? You're selling, buying art, promoting, and then you are bringing in different buyers into your gallery. And you're trying to bring a bunch of different, like either dealers or, now I can't remember the actual name of, there's 3 different colors of meeples, and you're trying to bring them all in, because the more meeples you have in your gallery, the more you can score with some end game little goals. But each time you sell a piece, one of them will leave with it. So it's balancing that out, not buying and selling too much, because you won't have any of these specialists to score points for you. And the neat thing is there's also this track. It's Reputation, I believe. It might be called something else. They all have such different names. But you can use that. You will gain that in different ways, but you can also use it for money, which you can also like get money by selling art. But this is another form of money. You'll lose quite a bit of it, but if you need like an extra $1 or $2, you can just move down on this track, which is really neat, I find. And it's such a thematic game. I find Vital's games, a lot of them are so thematic that they're very easy to learn, just because everything seems to flow and make sense. This one is the best at what it does that way. Whereas I don't have to relearn this game when I play it, because I just kind of, set it up and I'm like, oh yeah, totally remember all this, because it's not, I don't know, it just all makes sense. And it's my favorite one of his, and that's The Gallerist, number 49.
Nice. This is another one I haven't played yet. I wonder if we're going to have any crossovers here.
Yeah, I wonder.
So, because we have a fairly different taste. Like,
I'm thinking,
you tend to play, what I tend to play can be a little different. So we'll see how it goes.
I don't think on this episode we'll have crossovers. That's my prediction. Possibly one, maybe, but I don't think so.
Yeah, no, looking at this, I don't think we will either.
No?
Okay, well, we'll have to see. Mm-hmm. Okay, so my number 49 is Galaxy Trucker. This game was published in 2007, and it's created by Vlada Shvatil. And it's so neat. Like, you start the game, and it plays into, 2 phases, but you do it like 3 times. So, and you start with this small board that you're going to be building a small ship. And you're basically building your ship so that you can go on this journey through space and then come across different things and try to pick up goods and then deliver it at the end and trade it in for money. And then after you've done this 3 times, it's whoever has the most money. But in the first phase, you got to build your ship. So you got all these tiles on the table that are all face down, and you got to grab one, bring it over to your board before you can flip it over and look at it and be like, no, I don't need this. Then you can put it back on the table face up at this point. And you keep doing this, grabbing these pieces, trying to put together this ship. So some pieces are going to have like living quarters. So it's going to give you astronauts that you can have. Now there's expansions that allow you to have different aliens instead as well. That's going to give you special abilities, like just kind of give you where you can go faster, or that you can have better shields and stuff. But so you have these living quarters ones. Then you're going to have these cargo bays that's going to allow you to pick up goods on your way, because you can't pick them up if you don't have space to put them on. And some of them are going to be for like, I don't know, radioactive goods. So there's a special cargo bay for those type of goods. They're going to be worth more money, but they're kind of more difficult to carry. And then you're going to have some lasers that you can put on your ship to make sure that if you come across asteroids or kind of bad guys in space or whatever, that you can defeat them. And then you can have force field that you're going to put, again, to protect yourself from asteroids and the bad guys and all that sort of stuff. And so you're building all this ship. And you got to connect your pieces so that they have matching connections. And you're trying to have it so that you don't have exposed connections on the outside, because if you have a small asteroid that hits you, that's just going to bounce off. But if it hits an open connection, it's going to break that piece off of your ship. And basically, as you're building this ship, seeing how much of it makes it to the end, and then collect the money if you were able to bring goods. But you're not going to make it unscathed. Like, you're going to lose pieces of your ship. So you're trying to build something that's going to be, you know, like hardy at the beginning there, so that it'll hopefully make it through this journey. But it is so neat. I really enjoy this one. And then Fit to Print is coming out, and somebody had compared it to this one where you're grabbing the pieces, trying to put it all together. And honestly, that's what sold me on that one. So that's my number 49, Galaxy Trucker.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one too. Can't wait. All right, my number 48 is Hallertau, made in 2020 by Uwe Rosenberg. Now, this one is such a neat farming game. Different than his other ones, I would say, for the fact that you're actually not building a physical farm. It's mostly just planting crops. But how the crops work are so neat, because they start in different levels, and as you use them, they will go down. And if you leave them, they will like get better and better. So from round to round, if you just like leave crops alone, they'll start to like get to a higher level where they'll produce more. That's quite neat. And how he does the resources in this one, you'll put your resources on each level of your crops, and that will say how many are that you have. So you won't have like 10 wheat sitting in front of you. You'll have it on a spot where it shows that there's 10 of it. He kind of has done that in the Cave to Cave, the 2-player version of Caverna. And it's neat. Sometimes they do get piled up a little bit, and so it gets a little bit crowded, but it is also a worker placement game, because you have this grid out in front of everybody, and you will place little cubes, and it depends on how many people are there. So if there's nobody in that spot, you'll just get to place 1 cube. But if somebody's there, then you'll have to place 2, and so on, like more and more as you want to use that spot. So it gets more expensive. And then each round, one of the quadrants will clear off completely. So some will stay. So from round to round, you might not get to do what you did last round, or if it's full. So you kind of have to plan and think, okay, well, this one's going to clear off, because I believe I've played it so many times solo that I'm forgetting in a multiplayer how the grids clear off. In solo, it's kind of a random card draw. You'll flip one and it'll show a different grid that's clearing off. So it's a really good solo game as well. But there's also card play in this game. So you have different things that will give you income, but you have to have accomplished the thing before you can play the card. So sometimes you'll go to a spot, there's different worker placement spots that'll give you different cards, and you'll flip a card up and you're like, I already have this. So you play it right away. And it'll be a form of income, or it could be endgame points. And you can even flip cards, like somebody else might complete your card for you. So there is some luck involved there, but it's still really neat, because you start with a whole bunch of cards. So you can really plan and figure out which ones go together, which ones you're going to work for. It's so different than his other farming games, but so neat. And I have to get this to the table. Like I said, this in my last episode, that's one of my resolutions, getting my Uwe Rosenberg games to the table. And I can't wait to get this one to the table. And that's my number 48, Hallertau.
Nice. I don't think I've kind of seen a whole lot about this one.
No, it's one of his newer ones in the last 2 years, but
oh, okay.
It was talked about quite a bit that first year, and then haven't really heard a whole lot about it since, but that's what usually happens with his games. He'll come out with one and then it gets a lot of buzz and then just sort of fades. I think because they're so, not so much heavy, but they're just bigger games that they don't get to the table a lot for a lot of people.
Right, I can see that.
Yeah.
For sure. Wonderful. So my number 48 is Foundations of Rome. And I'm a little shocked about this one. I've played it a few times. I don't own it. I don't intend to own it because this game is pricey. It retails around $300. And it's massive as well. Like if you have a Calyx shelf, this game will take up an entire cubby to itself. It's this big cube of a game. And then you take the lid off and then you have trays in there, multiple trays. And each player gets their own trays. And then you have the board that you're going to be playing on. And you have all these amazing, overproduced buildings that you're going to be playing. And this one plays a lot like Chinatown and Bunny Kingdom. Those three games remind me of each other quite a bit. Because you're going to be collecting these, I guess, ownership of these different segments of the map. And then when you get enough segments together that you can put a building on, you would put a building on. And with this one is you'll have like different land, I guess, that'll come available and you can bid or you can purchase them depending on where they're at. But then if you don't purchase them on the high price, they slide over to like the lower price. So maybe like, okay, well, I'll wait till it's a little bit lower, but then somebody else could potentially buy it away from you. So it's interesting in, kind of how you acquire these areas on this map. But then once you have them on, and you would kind of put a thing to show that you own it, but then you can start putting buildings on it. And at first, the buildings are going to give you like populations and income, and then you can then upgrade those ones to other buildings, but you can't move them down. Like you have to upgrade up always. As you kind of get more land mass, and then you can kind of upgrade that does different things, but then eventually you can upgrade where it's like, well, this one is actually going to score for any other building that has population. So it's like, okay, well, the other players have put a lot of population buildings here, so I'm going to try to get that one there that's going to score off of their building. And like and I gotta say, like, this is a simple game. It's easy to learn, it's easy to play, and it plays fairly quickly as well for like how massive this all looks. Like it's a very quick game really in the end of it, but it's just, there's something about it. It's just such neat the way it all comes together. But like I said, it's pricey, it's big and bulky, and I don't think I intend to own it, but it is my number 48, Foundations of Rome.
Yeah, this is such a good game. It didn't make my top 50, but it's on my list up high, like up lower, I guess, if you want to put it that way. But it's, I predict this game will be like an evergreen, where it's, because it has such a simple rule structure, but it's just like, it's easy to learn, but very hard to master. But like all ages could really play it, because it all makes sense. And it's, if they made a cardboard version of this, I think it would be way higher up on people's list, it'd be more people would get to it, because it's just something, it would be a perfect family game. Like it's just such an easy to learn game, but so beautiful, and it's just fun, and it's, good choice. I like that one. All right, that was your number 48. Right? 48. No, 47. That was your 47.
No, it's my 48, so you're on 47 now.
I'm on 47. I'm like, whoa, where am I here? I've got these numbers all backwards, that's why. Okay, so my 47 is another Uwe Rosenberg game, and that's Fields of Arle, made in 2014. This is a 2-player version game. but it's not one of his little 2-player versions because it's the whole game. Like, it's not made after a big game. It is a big game, but it's a 2-player version or 2-player game. There is an expansion that you can get that will make it a 3-player game, which I haven't played with, but the 2-player is awesome. And it is a big boy. It's a big game and it's long, but it's so neat. You just have these 2 seasons basically. And you will, I think there's 5 of each season. So I think you play 10 rounds. It's either 10 or 12 rounds, but you'll do like one of the summer, one winter, summer, winter, and you go back and forth. And you have certain worker placement spots in each season. And you have, I think, 5 workers each, and you will place them and do those things. You can pop over to the winter or summer once per season, but doing that gives the other player the first player token for the next season. So it's quite neat because you have to build up these tools. And so that is one of the worker placement spots, is to go to these places to improve your tools. And by improving your tools, you go to those certain spots and you'll get more things. So you have to balance building up your tools and then also like gathering resources and whatnot. Then there's all these tiles on the board as well that you'll see throughout the game. Like, none of them change. They'll stay there. There's no new tiles that will come out. So you know kind of what to work for because a lot of them are end game tiles. The really neat thing is on your board, you will gather resources, but some of them will have a better resource on the other side once you flip it. So once you can improve it or upgrade it, you'll flip it and it's worth more. And there's one other really cool thing is that you have these little vehicles that you'll buy, these little carts and wagons, and they will hold different amounts of like different coats and furs and things like that. And however many you can fit on there, and it depends on the size of your cart, but you will ship these. And how you ship them is you have to go to these different places that need those exact things. And once you ship them, you'll get that tile of the place you went to, and then you'll place it on your board, and it's kind of like a track. You'll place these tiles on this track, and it'll build up higher and higher, and you'll get more points the more you ship. So there's all kinds of ways to score points, but it's a very unique one of his as well. And it's just awesome. I love it. And that's my number 47, Fields of Arle.
I've only played this one once, but it was so neat.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, and you've got this big board in between you. Like, it's
huge.
One where we played side by side, and then like the board between us that you can see everything. And it was so many options of what you can do. I really enjoy that one.
Yeah.
Perfect. So my number 47 is Subdivision. I guess like a similar game that gets compared to this one often is what's that one? Suburbia.
Yeah, that's the same. Same so production company, I think.
Yeah, and it's similar theme to it. I've played Suburbia, I bought Suburbia, and I sold it, and I've kept Subdivision. For me, personally, this one just shines in comparison. I like this one. And I forgot to say, it's published in 2014, and it's created by Lucas Hedgren. I butchered that name like you wouldn't believe. But it's so neat. Like, and what's interesting is you have this board and you have kind of like this opening, and you're going to be building onto it, and you roll the dice to see which area you can build on. Now, if you want to build on a different area, you can, but you're going to need to pay for it. And you can put schools, and then you can build on top, like school multiple times, kind of make it bigger, and then it's going to be worth more. And depending on how things are connected with each other, how they're going to score as well. It's kind of a neat tile placement where you're building this city. I really like this one. So that's my number 47, Subdivision. Subdivision.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. It's a really good solo game too, because you can. It's just kind of like beating your score, but it's like a puzzle. You're just trying to figure out what's the best way to put everything to get all the best points. Yeah, good one. All right, my number 46 is Carpe Diem, made in 2018 by Stefan Feld. Now, this one is an ugly game, and they redid it and made it a little less ugly, but it's terrible in the fact that it's very bland, and you have these different stages of green of some of the tiles, and they're so close that you can barely tell which is the light and then the darker and then the darkest. I don't know why they didn't just use completely different tiles altogether. But even the different colored ones that go on your board, those colors even kind of are similar. Like there's like a yellow and an orange, but they look very close. But what you're doing is you have this board out in front of you, and you are trying to place all these different buildings on this kind of dirt path, basically. And by doing that, you will build different buildings and close them off. And once you've completed a building, you will get something. You'll either get money or like fish or chickens or grapes if it's a wine or a vineyard kind of thing, all different things. But the reason you're doing that is at the end of the round, and I believe now I can't remember how many rounds, you will go to this scoring board, and you will score a couple of the objectives depending where you place your little disc. Now, if somebody places it on a spot that you want to go, you can't go there. You can still score that goal. You just have to go around it on a different side. But then you might be connected to another goal that you aren't able to score. And if you can't score something, you're going to get negative. So you have to be able to score something, which is tricky because you plan, and depending how many players are in the game, like if you're the last person to score, they might have taken everything from you and you're like, no, I can't score anything, so you're going to get negative points. But there's usually ways you can get something. Like, I mean, the first round sometimes is tricky, but after that. And so then once those discs are there, they're there for the whole game. So then you have to choose other things to score. So you always have to keep changing your strategy. You can't just stick with one straight through the whole game. You also have this little bander track, I believe it's called, and that is, you'll move up that by building some certain building. I can't remember which one it is, but that will determine player order and who gets to score first and things like that. And it's just a really cool tile laying game, but it's also kind of a worker placement as well. And how you do it is not worker placement, you're tile selecting, but you have this little worker and he'll slide back and forth depending where he can go. So it's very hard to describe. They're in a circle, but then the workers will go around. And so if I'm in one spot, I'm only able to go to the one across from it, or the two that are across from it. So kind of diagonally. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's really neat. And so the selection there is cool because then if it's just a 2-player game, once 2 tiles are gone from that area, they're cleared off. So if there's more players, then they won't get cleared off quite as fast, but it's really thinky and it's really neat. It's a unique one of his as well. He has all unique games though, but it's such a cool game. And I would love if they made like a beautiful anniversary edition or deluxe version or something like they did with Castles of Burgundy. But that's my number 6, Carpe Diem.
Nice. That's another one I haven't tried yet, but I've heard so much about it.
It's very cool.
All right, I've got some playing to do. So my number 46 is Smartphone Inc. It was published in 2018. It was created by Ivan Lashin. And I've got to say, this one, I've only played it on Boardgame Arena or whatever platform we were using at the time. This was in the middle of COVID when we played it, so we kind of set up the night. We set it up to play. Somebody had already played it. They owned the game. And then we kind of all logged on Discord so we could all talk to each other while we're playing. And even though it was kind of tricky because it was the first time I was playing like digital games online and it seemed like my camera view was off to the wrong thing all the time, this game was cool. So at first you have these things that you would kind of stack in different ways to have different symbols showing. And once you've had your different symbols showing, this would determine the actions that you can do on your round. So you're doing that behind your screen, and then you would kind of reveal like, okay, these are the actions I'm doing. And you're running a cell phone company. So you're going to be having phones to sell, and you're kind of going to be branching out in different markets. Like, okay, well, I'm going to sell in this market. I'm selling in this market. But as it goes, like, you got to make sure that you're pricing your phone correctly so that there's enough buyers interested in buying your phone. Or you can develop technology and offer phones that are so cool that people will pay pretty much any price you set. So the whole economic side of this was so interesting. I really enjoy economic games, and this one was great. Like I said, I don't own this one, but I will. This is one that I will eventually seek out and add it to my collection because it was so neat. And then the whole look of the board was cool because it's a map, but it has like a white background, and I just really enjoyed this one. So that's my number 46, Smartphone Inc.
Awesome. Yeah, I played this. I have this. I played it a few times. It's another one I feel like is a good family game, like a bit older kids, but it could be, like a Monopoly takeover. It's way better. But I mean, it's just something that, in modern days, I wish that's the kind of games families would be playing, because it's still easy to learn. There's still a lot of strategy involved, but it's just so neat because once you get the hang of like just, putting those little, the card or whatever you call them at the beginning, after that, it's just, trying to figure out how to sell and getting the technology and stuff. But I love it. And I wanted to try it with my family. I still haven't yet, but I feel like they would really like it. I think it would be a good one. Have you tried it with your boys?
No, because I don't own it.
Oh, well, you can borrow mine.
Not yet. I don't own it yet.
Yeah. Awesome.
I will.
That was your number 46. My number 45 is another big boy. After that, I'm going down a little bit lighter. But this one is one of the T games, and this is Tzolkin, the Mayan calendar. This is made in 2012 by Simone Luciani and Danielle Tassini. Now this one, I've only played a couple times since I've had it, but I'm going to get it to the table again because it's one of my resolutions, play all these T games. This one has such a neat worker placement idea. They use wheels, these like Mayan calendar wheels that you will place your workers on, and they will turn each round. And as they turn, your workers will move on them. And as they move, they go to different spots that you can take off your workers anytime you want, and you will collect the thing that they are at. So it's always best to leave them on there because the longer they stay on, the better the reward is, right? But you need stuff. So you're like, I want to keep them all on, but I need to get stuff to do stuff because you have to pay to put them on a lot of times, unless that you put them right at the beginning and it's free. But if you put them like a little bit higher up, you have to pay some corn. And it's so neat. There's also there's tracks that you move up, a couple tracks that will give you better building strategy or building opportunities. They'll give you better resources as you collect things. There's also some end game goals at the bottom that you want to build. They're end game buildings that you want to build. And it's just so neat. You also are trying to collect these skulls, which are these blue skulls that are like good points at the end. And it's just such a neat and unique idea. Like when people talk about gimmicky games, this is one gimmick game where you don't see it in anything else. I've never seen it in anything else. Those wheels turning, because there's 4 that are connected, one big one to 3 little ones, I believe. And so they all turn, and you have to like figure it out in your brain how they all turn, because they all turn differently. So you're like, okay, wait. If I put it here, these ones are going to turn that way and that one's going to turn this way. So it's quite mind-boggling, but it's so cool. And everyone should try this game at least once. And that's my number 45, Tzolkin, the Mayan calendar.
This one does look so intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wonderful. So my number 45 is Century Eastern Wonders. This one was published in 2018, and it's created by Emerson Masucci. And full disclosure, this is my favorite from the Century series, which is the area control version of the game.
Yeah.
And I keep saying, it's like, I don't like area control. But my choices in top 50 games would say otherwise. So this one is just so cool because you have this whole map that you create. And then you're going to go from location to location and you can create like a market there. Then if you have a market, you can utilize what that special ability on that particular tile is. And then in true century form, it's going to be collecting resources, to trade resources, to, you know, trade into something else until you have enough to be able to fulfill the orders that are in these different ports that you would go to. So not only do you want to go and kind of travel all across this board to collect the resources and then trade them up to have the combination of what you need, but then you need to make sure that you get to the port and fulfill the order before somebody else does. And sometimes you can see is like, oh, shoot, I think he's going for the same thing. So I think I could do it faster. You know, so like you're trying to put your things together and go and get this done. And it's interesting on your board too, because all of these little markets that you're placing on this map, they kind of free up spaces on your board. And then the more, depending on where you put them, like, okay, I'm going to put them on this one. Well, this one is I forget what they are, but like the coffee or the tea one. So then you have to take it from this row. Oh, and this one is the green one. So you got to take it from this row and so on. And then the more you take away from a row that has the same row, then those spaces are going to start being worth victory points as well. So it's so neat. I really enjoy this one. As I mentioned, this is my top game from the Century series. So that's number 45, Century Eastern Wonders.
Awesome. Now, who was the designer again, you said?
Emerson Masucci?
Yeah. He did Foundations of Rome too, right?
You know what? Let me see here on this list alone, and this is the last time I mentioned, but he's mentioned 3 times. So yeah, he did Foundation of Rome. He did the other Century, A New World. He's a busy guy. Yeah. And such different games. Like those are completely different. They feel different. That's awesome. All right. Well, my number 44 is Barenpark, made in 2017 by Phil Walker Harding. I love tile laying games. I love polyomino tile laying games. And this theme, it just grabs me. I love building my little bear park. And it's so fun because you are building onto your little board, but what you cover up, you get those tiles. So you have to be strategic in, okay, what do I need? I need that white tile, or I'm saying white because the tiles all have different colors, basically. Like the green ones are like the parks and the rivers and the bathrooms. And then there's like the orange tiles, which are a little bit better, and then it's the white tile. The white truck tiles are like the really big ones that'll have points on them and stuff. So you're trying to cover up these. And then there's also a construction one where you cover up these little construction workers, and that gives you a whole new board because you build up to 4 boards in the base game. And once you've completed all those boards, that ends the game, and then everyone scores. Now, once you fill your little board, each of your little boards, except for the one little what's it called, like the manhole or whatever, because you're going to place that statue on it. That's when you grab the statue point, and you'll place it on there. And they'll start from high to low. So the first person to do it will get the highest one, and then so on. And it's just such a perfect family game, but it's so light and easy, but it's just fun. I just find it so relaxing and fun, and anyone ever wants to play this game, I will pull it out and play it. I love it. I think I taught you once when you were here. Yeah. You hadn't played it, but it's one of my favorite polyominoes. There's more to come, but this one is, it's a beauty and a classic, I believe, and that's my number 44, Barenpark. Yeah, that one it is an easy one to learn, because I remember you showed me or you taught it to me the one time when I was at your house. And then at FalCon, I ended up teaching it to somebody else, even though I had only played it the one time, right? Like, it's not a complex game to grasp. So that's great. My number 44 is not the same. This one is a little bit more complex, and that's Heaven and Ale. This one was published in 2017. It's a Michael Kiesling game and Andreas Schmidt. And it's neat. Like, I just really enjoy how this one all works and all the different element that comes together. You have the main board in the middle, and you're going to go around it. So I guess it's a rondelle, but on each location, there's different things that's available, like different resources you can collect, or there'll be monks, or there'll be scoring opportunities, or there's different things. And on your turn, you can go as far forward as you want to collect what you want, but you can never go back. So, and it's whoever's in the last position that gets to go next. So then they can go and kind of clean up all the stuff behind you, right? So, but you're kind of going around this thing, and then the first player to cross the finish line will select their bonus for that round. So maybe they'll be like, okay, well, I want more money. Be like, no, I want to be first player, or I want to be able to do these different things that you can do. And that's kind of how that portion works. Now, when you collect these different things that you're going to be picking up, you're going to be putting them on your board. And you got to pay to place them, but then you can put them on the one side that's going to kind of, when you score them, is going to give you money, or you can place them on the other side, the lighter side, and when you score them, it's going to build up your track of each resources. And each resource on this track starts at a different location, and like one's at the bottom, and then the one's a little bit higher up, and so on. And this is one of those games where, because you'll be putting these tiles I mentioned like on your board, but once you surround a village, depending on the value of all the points around this village, what you're going to activate. And then you kind of decide which one you're going to activate. So sometimes it's worthwhile to do like a lower valued village so that you can do different things, and then have some higher valued village so you can activate different things as well. And putting your monks among there too, because then you'll be able to activate your monks and then kind of activate the things that are around them again. It's just neat. It's clever. I mean, this isn't like a simple game. You'll kind of go over it real quick and pick it up. Like, this is a bit more complexity to it. And then the scoring is a whole thing on its own, because you want to move your brewer as high as it can go, because that's going to determine how much you'll be able to multiply by. So the higher the multiplication, the higher the score you're going to have. But it's going to multiply your lowest resource. So you need to make sure that all of your different ingredients are moved up as well, so that the lowest resource is still fairly high. So you can't neglect the one aspect of it. You got to make sure that you move everything up. It is neat. It's interesting. I played this one the first time at FallCon. And I had watched like gaming tutorial, like a video tutorial on how to play it ahead of time, and ended up winning the game when we played it. So that was great. Maybe that's why I like it so much, right? Because I won the first time. So, but it's an interesting one, and I do enjoy that one. So that's my number 44, Heaven and Ale.
Yeah, that's a good one. Awesome. All right, my number 43 is Targi, made in 2012 by Andreas Steger. This one is another 2-player game, but it's one of my top 2-player games, I believe. Like, I think I have a couple more. Just looking down here. It might be.
Is it the top 2-player game?
No, it's not the top, but it's one of them. It's such a cool game. It's a worker placement game, but you build this grid with your cards, and the spots around the outside is where you can place your Targis, and you have 3 of them, each of you, and you can't place them in the corners ever, and you can never place them where this Targi goes around the board. So this one other meeple will go around the board, and you can't place it on the same spot as that one. Now, it's so neat because you are either trying to get resources or to get some Targia cards, I believe they're called. And there's different suits in those, so that you have like your camel riders, you have your Targia, you have your Oasis, and then there's another one. I forget what the other one is now. But so what you do is you're trying to build these cards into your tableau. And you always build a 4x4, I believe, 4x4 grid. And once somebody has built all of them, that ends the game. But you're trying to either place in your rows all the same or all completely different. All the same will give you better points than all different. But if you have two of the same and one different, then you're not going to score points for that row. So you have to be very clever on how you're going to place them. But how you get them is by placing your targies around the outside and them connecting, because once you've placed all your targies, you will take these little discs and connect all your targies. So you have two discs that can connect, and you're hoping to connect in two different spots because you'll get those things on the board. And you can block each other, because as soon as I place somebody on one side, you can't put them across from me. So I've already blocked that spot from you. So I might place mine and you can see, I think she wants this. So you can literally block me then by putting it on the perpendicular side of it so that I can't get that, because then I can't go across from you. But you're trying to get all these different spices and salt and pepper and gold. You need gold for a lot of the cards. Some of the cards have abilities on them, so they'll make things cheaper for you, or you'll get more resources. You have to, as this one Targia moves around the board, it comes to different spots where you have to pay resources, or you lose points, or you can just pay points. There's a little expansion to this, which actually adds quite a bit, and it's cool because it gives you a whole little side spot to go to if you didn't like something on the board. And then it has another resource, water, that it uses, but it's another way to get things, because sometimes it's really hard to get gold or certain things. And it's just a really neat, unique game that I haven't seen anything like it. And it's literally just cards and the resources and Targia. So you could put this in a really tiny little bag if you wanted to travel with it. And it's just so neat. I play this a lot on BGA too. I like playing it on the table and on there. It's awesome. And I love it. And that's my number 43, Targi.
That is a great one. And I just went through my list. I was like, where did that land from me? Because I don't remember. And it's not on my list. I don't know if it didn't pop up and it got missed for some reason. I'm not sure if it would have made it into the top 50, but it is so neat. And it's interesting how you place those two and kind of the crisscross that decides it. Yeah, great pick. My number 43 is Le Havre, the island in the inland port. I love this game. I've never played Le Havre, so I don't know how it compares or how that one would be. And I do want it. If I ever come across this one, I'll get it just because I want to try it, just because of how much I enjoy this 2-player version. This was published in 2012, so it's an older one, and it's a Uwe Rosenberg game, and it's neat. So every player, there was 2 players, so both players have this little rondel thing. And each round you're going to be, I guess, bidding or collecting these buildings that you're going to add to your rondel. And then you move the dial up 1. And then as it moves up and comes closer to the rondel, or to the buildings that are behind it, they're going to start being more powerful in what they can do. Right? If it ever gets to the point where your dial reaches them, you have to sell them for half the value. And you kind of don't want to do that because your buildings are worth victory points at the end. But when you activate the ability of it, it resets it just behind the hand of that rondel. So you kind of want to take turn setting up these, utilizing these buildings, so it'll kind of come back and stay in play on your board. But one thing that can happen is you would wait, kind of like, I'm going to wait till it becomes really powerful and it's going to be a really good move. But you could pay a gold coin to activate the building on somebody else's rondel. So you could be saving this building to get this great move, and then the other player activates it before you get to, resetting it and making it almost useless. Oh my God. It's like, what did you do? I had plans, so that whole thing is just so interesting. And then you have the resource board where you have a cube for each resource that you have. And then when you, some of the things that will happen is it allows you to move the cube up one level, like one cube up. But when you're spending it, if you move your cube down, that's spend 3. If you move it sideways, it's spend 1. And if you go down and sideways, then it spends 4. So depending on where they are on the board, it could come that is like, oh, darn it, I need to spend 1, but I'm all right up against the side of it. So now I have to spend 3, and I didn't have to. So you want to try to manipulate these resource cube to be like as far high, like up and to the left as possible. But there's no board there. It's like a half triangle, and they've taken that section that would make your resource the most efficient out. So you got to make sure that you always try to push it back in that area. Then at the end of the game, depending on where they're located, they're also going to be worth victory points as well. So you're trying to get them positioned where they're worth the most also. But it's really narrow up there. So when they're way up there where it's worth the most, every time you use them, it kind of spends it fairly quickly. The whole game is just so clever. I love how this whole thing comes together. And it's just such a neat game. And that's my number 43, Le Havre, the inland port. Yeah,
it is very unique. I'm surprised he hasn't used it in another game, actually, because it's so cool. Like that grid. It's so neat.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. My number 42 is a newer game, and I actually talked about it at the beginning of the episode, and that's Turing Machine. This is made this year, 2022, by Fabian Gradel and Johan Levitt. And there's not much more to say, but it is such a cool deduction game. I'm getting so into these deduction games, and especially when numbers are involved, I just get it more. I get it easier. And it's so cool how it works and how they have built this. How they have, like, it's so astonishing to me. Like, how did they come up with this idea? You know, I guess that's why I'm not an engineer making computers and things. And these people are. But it's so cool. Everybody needs to try this. If this is at a convention, just give it a try. It's such a cool and unique idea. And that's my number 42, Turing Machine.
My number 42 is Seven Wonders Architects. This one was published in 2021 by Antoine Boza, so it's fairly new. And it's, you know, it's a simple version of Seven Wonders, but it's done so streamlined. To me, like, it's Seven Wonders meet between two cities. And I just received this one as a gift for Christmas from my friend, and I got it just over New Year's Eve, and we played it then, so it's all fresh in my mind. But you play it as a different civilization, and then you have these tiles that you're going to be putting your kind of your wonder together, but it's on the construction side. So you need to collect the resources to build these, and it's all in segments, so you got one segment to build at a time. So the first one is you need two different resources. And once you have that, you can discard them, and then you build that base portion. Once those portion gets built, they're going to be worth victory point as well. And then you kind of keep going. What's really interesting as well is, like, each player has their own deck of card that is placed face up between you and the player to your right. So then the person to your left has their deck of cards between the two of you. And on your turn, you can take a card either from your left, from your right, or from the middle, but the one from the middle is face down, unless you've acquired the cat. Then if you have the cat on your turn, you can look at that card as well. So then you have perfect knowledge. This is what this card is in the middle, and to my right it's this, and to my left is this, and this card serves me best, so I'm going to take this one. And you're collecting these cards. Then you'll have military cards, and what they'll do is they'll give you military strength, but if there's a horn on it, you have to flip a horn from the peace side to the horn side. And if those tiles ever get all flipped over to the horn side, then war is declared and you battle with the people on either side of you. And if your military strength is higher than theirs, then you get 3 victory points for military points. And so maybe it's like, okay, well, he doesn't have any ones yet. And this card has 2 horns on it, so I would activate, like the battle now, and now I would win. So I'm going to do that now. But any cards that you have that has the horn, they get discarded afterwards. So then your military strength lowers from it. If they didn't have any, then you get to keep those ones. And then you have the science ones that you collect. And then once you have either 3 different science or 2 of the same one, you can discard those to collect a science token that's going to give you either a special ability you can utilize in the game or an extra way to score at the end of the game. And it's neat. And it's quick. This one plays so quick. And it's one of those that every time I've played it, like we've played it, be like, okay, let's do it one more time. And then we'll play it like one more time just because it is such a quick game. Super simple to teach, super simple to play. It's just smooth. Like it works so well. So that's my number 42, 7 Wonders Architects.
I still haven't played this one, but I really want to try it. Do you like it better than 7 Wonders? Do you prefer it?
Yes. I would say okay. Yes. Well, hold on. Let me see where 7 Wonders is on my list. Yes.
Oh, wow.
It is higher on my list.
Cool.
So
I have to get this, this now.
It's just such a smooth play. I do enjoy 7 Wonders, and I do enjoy 7 Wonders Duel, but this one just is so easy to get to the table and play that it makes it more appealing to me.
It's really pretty, too. Like, it's nice looking. Very nice looking. Awesome. All right. Well, my number 41 is definitely my last 2-player game on my whole list of top 50. Can you take a guess?
Oh. Patchwork.
I talked about... Oh, wait a sec. Did I forget Patchwork? Oh, I think Patchwork is higher up. Where is it?
Kind of making her doubt her list now.
I'll have to look while you're talking about your number 1, but did I miss Patchwork? I know it's on here somewhere.
Okay, so I didn't
have to find
guess
it,
correctly.
but anyway,
I'm going to assume that.
Yeah, it's not Patchwork, but it is Lost Cities, and this is Reiner Knizia in 1999. I love this game. It's such a simple game, but still so fun. Just 2-player card game that you are just building up your expeditions by lower number to higher. And how you do that is you play a card, you pick up a card. Now you either play into your expedition or you play onto this central board. But by playing on the central board, it leaves the option of the other player to take that card. So you don't want to give them something that they need, but at the beginning, you don't know what anybody needs. And if you don't have like the little thumbs up expedition to start, which will double your multiplier, or any low cards, you really don't want to play anything in your expedition. So you have to put something in the middle and you're like, oh, I don't hope you don't want this. Yeah. So it's so cool. And you play 3 rounds and it's the best of 3. Or no, it's you calculate the points each round and it's the highest score is the best. You want the highest score. But the tricky part is you don't just play willy-nilly in these expeditions, because if you can't complete it up to 20 points at least, you're going to score negative. So if you've put in some of these, what are they called? The thumbs up. Now I can remember.
It's the handshakes,
deals.
like the deals.
Yeah, the deals. If you place them before your cards, they will give you multipliers. But if you don't complete that expedition to 20, it'll be a negative multiplier. So it's very push your luck. Also a little bit to take that just by, you're keeping cards from the other player that they really need. You don't want them to get out there so that they can get them. Or as soon as they put a 6 down, you're safe to put the 5 down of that color because they can't put it into their expedition. It's just such a neat game and such a simple concept, but I love it. I play it a lot with my husband and whoever else will play. I play on BGA this game a lot. I just love it. It's my number 41, Lost Cities. Now I got to search for Patchwork.
Nice. Yeah, I know Lost Cities is such a good one. My number 41, this is one that surprised me a little bit that it is this high. Because it's Castle Panic. So Castle Panic was created in 2009. It's created by Justin DeWitt. This was the first cooperative game I've ever played. And I played it with my boys who were like, preteens at the time. And they liked it so much that when I went to work, Patrick opened it up to play it, him and his brother on their own, and he accidentally folded the board the wrong way when he went to put it away, that it broke in half. And it wasn't my game, it was my brother's game. So he called me at work. He's like, oh no, Mom, I broke his game. And I was like, no worries. We'll buy it from him, and I'll bring prescription tape and we'll tape it up so it'll be all good to go. So the copy I have still has a taped up board. And I called my brother, say, hey, I'm so sorry, broke it. How much is it? And I'll buy it back from you. And I was not disappointed because I was glad we were keeping it. This game was so neat. Like the playing that, because the way that it works is you have this kind of, well, these 5 towers or 6 towers in the middle. And in front of those towers, you have a little wall. So that represents your castle in the middle. Then you have your your knight area, then your swordsman area, and then your archer area. So kind of builds up like a bullseye, and then you have the forest. And each round you're gonna have new monsters that comes up, orcs or goblins or these different creatures that's going to come and make it closer and closer and closer to your castle. And each segment in this board are different colors as well. So depending on where they're at, so it's like, okay, we need to kill him, but he needs to be hit 3 times. Well, he's in the red archer area, and I have a red archer card, so I can use that. And then you're going to hit him by 1, and you turn him over. But now he's going to be into the horseman area. So who can do this? Like, oh, I have one. Oh, no, I don't. It's green. It's not in the right area. And then, like, you kind of plan all this up, because if they ever get to the middle and they hit your wall, they're going to destroy your wall. Now, if you collect a brick and mortar card, you can combine those to build a new wall, but it's not always in your hand at the right time. And you can trade 1 card with another player at the start of your turn, but only 1. So it's like, okay, well, you got the brick. I'll give you this. Oh, hold on. But that means you'll be able to build it in 2 turns. Who knows what's going to happen then? Like, the whole feel of it was so exciting. And we've got some expansions as well, like the Wizard Towers expansion with it, that just makes this game even harder. Like, it almost makes it impossible, really. But we've had such great kind of stressful moments, I guess, playing this game with my kids, that it was just memorable experience, that it's this one I love just for that, the memories that it created, and the gameplay was so neat. So that's my number 41, Castle Panic.
I've been hearing a lot about this one recently. I've never played this one either. Oh, but yeah, I don't know. Just recently, yeah. I've been like, is this a new game? It's not new though, right?
Because it's not. Like, it's 2009. No. This is old for a board game, really. Yeah,
that's cool when those old ones come up again and again and again, right? Awesome. Yeah. Well, that's our top. So that was first 10.
Our first 10 for the top. I gotta say, it's ridiculous how excited I am about this list. But yeah, so we got the first 10 ready. Now, as I mentioned, since I've sorted my top 243, I'm also going to be doing the top 100 on YouTube. So I'm hoping to get that one done and up this week as well. So it'll eventually kind of catch up to this one. But before we call it quits here, Carla, where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram at Boardgame Specialist, all one word, and on Facebook you can find me. I have a page called Red Deer Board Game Fanatics. What about you?
When we're also both, me and Carla, are on our new Discord channel. We'll add a link to the comments, so be sure to check us out there. It's really neat actually having that interaction conversation with anybody who wants to chit chat with us. So we really enjoy that. So be sure to join our Discord channel. I can also be found on Instagram as Mel's_boardgame_room. And then my YouTube channel is Mel's Board Game Room. And my Facebook page is Mel's Board Game Room. So be sure to tune in next week for the next 10 games in our top 50 board games. Like, how excited I am on the top 10. I'm going to be vibrating. Oh, it's crazy. So next week it's going to be number 40 to 31, I guess. Yeah, that's how it works. 40 to 31. So be sure to tune in for that.
Thanks for listening. Bye for now.